you want to know.
Craig's Corner. Hey, welcome to Craig's Corner. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about gain in the amplifier block in VoiceLive 3. We've had some users on the forums who have said that they've heard some sort of sputtery sounds, that was the word they used for it, when using high gain for amplifiers. And I wanted to explain why that happens, because it is completely possible to get those sounds. Essentially, VoiceLive 3 as a toolbox for guitar has tons of different parameters, and we've given you all those parameters so that you can tweak anything you want. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility. That you can really get yourself some bad sounds out of the unit. It's completely possible, and it's totally normal to be able to hear those things. The sputter sound that people are getting relates to basically internal clipping of the guitar signal. So for any of you who know recording at all, if you have a track that does not clip, but you go and you boost the heck out of the EQ, you can actually clip that track internally within your DAW, and even though the signal source is not clipping. It's exactly what's going on within the amplifier block. So let me try and explain sort of what's happening here. What I'm going to do is just throw up my, there we go, okay. Just got my guitar here. So what you can see is I've got the AC Crunch amp set up. I'm just going to reset it and go back here. So I've got my pre-gain and my post-gain. You see as they come default, they're at 19 and minus 18, which means I'm boosting the preamplification input by 19 dB, and I'm reducing the power amplifier output by 18 dB, which gives you an even level, but you're getting some distortion on the input because you've got that 19 dB of gain. Now let's see. So as you can see, that amp, voiced in the way it does not clip and have a sputtery sound. What these guys are talking about hearing, and I'm going to crank the absolute piss out of the pre-gain here, is when they're getting up into these high gain settings, they're ending up with this clipping. So let me play you what that sounds like. It sounds bad. So why is that happening, and how do you avoid it? Well, the amps at their default levels have been set so that the amount of pre-gain that comes in, and then the EQ curve that happens after that pre-gain, and then the post-gain ends up not clipping. And what we're really concerned about is this pre-gain level and then the EQ curve that comes after it. If you imagine that, oh, where's my hand? There we go. Imagine if this is the level of clipping, and your EQ curve comes like this, right? That's where it is. And then you add a bunch of pre-gain, which brings your curve to here, and it goes over that line. That's when you experience clipping. So if we scroll down a little bit into the settings, you're going to see you've got a low post, mid post, and high post. Now that's after your preamplification stage. It's your post amp, your volume that comes out of the amp. That stage is a little less critical to worry about in terms of getting this splashy sound. What you really want to focus on is this low pre, mid pre, and high pre. That's the curve of the EQ that goes into the preamplification stage. If that curve is set up in such a way that your pre-gain, the boost of your pre-gain pushes it over the limit, that's when you're going to hear those sounds. So now you can see if I take these low pre, mid pre, and high pre settings and say I reduce them to say minus 10 each, that's like a bunch of dB below what they were, I'll be able to take that pre-gain setting and continue to crank it up louder and louder without getting the sound. So I'm just going to stop my mic here. Now you notice that obviously I've got the pre-gain way up there, but because I've reduced those mid pre and the low pre, mid pre, and high pre, that's that curve going into that preamp block. I'm not distorting. I'm not getting over that limit and getting that sort of really splashy sound to come out of the unit. So it's essentially a balance between that incoming EQ curve and the outgoing EQ curve through the preamp. That may be way too much for a lot of people who are just using the amp styles. Personally, I go to AC Crunch and I go, hey, AC Crunch sounds good, and I just play through it. A lot of people want to get tweaky. This is where you want to go. That's why you're running into trouble. It's just a balance between how much am I EQing on the way in and how much am I then boosting that curve, and is that curve tipping over into the bad place. So hopefully that helps explain what's going on. You guys can definitely avoid that sound and get a ton of gain out of things. You're just going to need to manipulate the levels and really just sort of go back and forth. It's a bit of a give and take, to find that sweet spot. Hopefully that helps you. Take care.